In the summer of 1852, the fields of Blackthorn County, Virginia, lay heavy with heat. Cicadas screamed from the tree line. Corn stood tall and unmoving in the damp air. The earth smelled of iron and sweat and something faintly sour that no one could quite name. At the far edge of a narrow dirt road stood a farmhouse known locally as Briar Hollow. It was not the largest estate in the county, nor the poorest. It was a practical structure: white clapboard siding, a pitched roof weathered to gray, and a wide porch supported by square wooden posts. A barn stood behind it. A well rested to one side. From a distance, nothing appeared unusual, and yet the neighbors rarely lingered there. The owner of Briar Hollow was a man named Gideon Mercer. He was 43 years old, tall, broad-shouldered, and severe in manner. His beard was kept short. His clothes were plain but meticulously clean. He attended church without fail and donated modestly but regularly. He was known for speaking often of discipline, obedience, and divine order. His wife, Abigail Mercer, was rarely seen with long sleeves and high collars, even in oppressive heat. Her eyes carried the hollowed look of someone who slept lightly, if at all. The Mercers had no children. The first suspicion did not come from a sheriff, nor from a neighbor. It came from a traveling preacher. In late July, Reverend Silas Rowe stopped at Briar Hollow seeking supper and a place to rest his horse. Gideon welcomed him inside with reserved politeness. Abigail served stew and cornbread without speaking. They ate in silence, broken only by prayer. Halfway through the meal, the Reverend paused. He lifted his head. There had been a sound, faint, a dull, hollow thud, as if something beneath the floor had shifted. Gideon continued eating. Abigail's hand trembled just slightly as she ladled more stew into the preacher's bowl. The Reverend listened carefully. There it was again, a scrape, a dragging movement beneath the floorboards. He glanced down. The planks were old oak, wide and heavy. Nothing appeared disturbed. "Do you keep animals beneath the house?" the Reverend asked gently. Gideon looked up. His expression did not change. "Rats," he said calmly. "Field rats, persistent things." The preacher nodded, though something in the sound had not felt like vermin. That night he slept uneasily. Over the next 2 years, 17 children vanished within a radius of 20 miles from Briar Hollow. Not all at once, not dramatically. They disappeared quietly. A farmhand's orphaned niece sent to work in exchange for lodging. A boy from a poor family who had accepted temporary labor on a neighboring property. 2 siblings whose father had died of fever and whose mother had taken ill shortly after. In each case, explanations formed quickly. They must have run off. They were unstable. They went north for factory work. In 1852 rural Virginia, children without strong family ties often drifted unnoticed into the margins of society. Few records were kept. Fewer questions were asked. But one mother refused to accept the silence. Her name was Clara Whitfield. Her son, Thomas, age 12, had taken seasonal work harvesting tobacco on land adjacent to Briar Hollow. He had written home once, briefly, saying he was learning discipline under Mr. Mercer. Then he stopped writing. When Clara arrived at the Mercer farm asking questions, Gideon stood firm and composed. "The boy left 3 weeks ago," he told her, "said he wished to seek opportunity in Richmond." "Without his coat? Without saying goodbye?" Gideon's eyes did not flicker. "Boys leave as boys do." The cellar at Briar Hollow was not visible from outside.
It was not accessed through storm doors or exterior stairs like most Virginia farmhouses of the period. Its entrance lay hidden beneath a thick oak rug at the far end of the kitchen. Under that rug was a square cut into the floor. Under that square was a ladder descending into packed earth. Gideon had constructed it himself. Over several winters, under the pretense of reinforcing foundation beams, he had hollowed a chamber beneath the house. Timber supports held the ceiling in place. Dirt walls enclosed a space roughly 20 feet long and 12 feet wide. There were no windows. Ventilation came from narrow pipes disguised within the well structure outside. Within that chamber, 17 children had lived, if living could be the word. They were kept on straw pallets. They were fed twice daily. They were taught scripture from memory. They were forbidden from speaking unless instructed. Gideon called it sanctification. Gideon Mercer believed the world had become corrupt beyond redemption. Industrial cities were rising, railroads cut across farmland, factories drew families into crowded tenements. He saw it as decay. He preached, informally, persistently, that true purity required separation. Children, he believed, were born untainted, but easily spoiled by society. And so he chose to protect them. He selected those who would not be immediately missed, those on the fringes, those already vulnerable. He told Abigail they were saving souls. She did not argue. She had once given birth. The infant had died within a week. After that, something in Abigail withdrew permanently. Gideon filled the silence with purpose.
The unraveling began not with suspicion, but with weather. In early September 1852, a violent thunderstorm struck Blackthorn County. Rain fell in sheets. Lightning split a large oak tree near the Mercer well. The strike cracked the ground. By morning, the soil near the well had shifted. A section collapsed inward, revealing a narrow wooden pipe running below the surface. Deputy Sheriff Elias Boone happened to be riding past when he saw Gideon frantically attempting to shovel mud over the exposed area. Boone dismounted. "What's that?" he asked. "Drainage pipe," Gideon replied evenly. Boone crouched. The pipe was too deliberate, too carefully carved, and there was something else. From beneath the soil, faintly, a sound. Not thunder, not wind, a cry. Boone froze. The sound came again, weak, human. He stood slowly. "Step aside, Mr. Mercer." The floor of the Mercer kitchen was torn open by noon. Abigail sat motionless in a wooden chair as deputies pried up the square hatch. The smell rose first, stale air, damp straw, unwashed bodies. Then came the light. Lantern beams cut into darkness. And there, huddled against the far wall, were children, 17 of them, pale, thin, eyes wide against the sudden brightness. Some shielded their faces, some did not move at all. The youngest appeared no older than 7, the oldest perhaps 14. None spoke. Boone descended the ladder slowly. "Are you harmed?" he asked softly. A boy stared back at him. "We are being purified," the boy whispered. The arrest of Gideon Mercer shook the county. He did not resist. He did not flee. When placed in irons, he simply said, "You misunderstand righteousness." The trial was held in October. Testimonies described strict confinement, enforced silence, beatings for disobedience, and sermons delivered nightly by lantern light. Abigail testified only once. She admitted she had cooked.
She admitted she had carried food below. She claimed she believed it was temporary. She claimed she believed it was for salvation. Gideon defended himself without visible emotion. "I preserved innocence," he told the court. "The world would have devoured them." When asked why he had not sought legal guardianship, he replied, "The law is not the measure of divine authority." The jury deliberated for 2 hours. He was found guilty of kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and aggravated assault. Gideon Mercer was sentenced to life imprisonment in the Virginia State Penitentiary. Abigail was sentenced to 10 years for complicity. The children were placed with relatives where possible. Some were adopted. Some vanished again into systems unrecorded by history. Many refused to sleep in rooms with closed doors. Several never spoke comfortably above a whisper. Clara Whitfield found her son Thomas alive, but changed. He no longer looked people in the eye. He no longer laughed. When asked what had happened below the house, he answered only, "We were waiting." Briar Hollow was abandoned within a year. The farmhouse decayed slowly. Floorboards rotted. The barn collapsed. The well filled with debris. By 1871, only the stone foundation remained. Locals avoided the land, not because of ghosts, but because of memory. Historians later debated whether Gideon Mercer was insane or calculating. Some described him as a religious extremist shaped by grief. Others called him a methodical predator cloaked in scripture. What is certain is this: for 2 years, 17 children lived beneath open sky. They heard footsteps above them. They heard wind through cornfields. They heard church bells in the distance, but they never saw the sun. And for nearly 2 years, no one truly looked for them.